He was bold, and he was dangerous, at least to those who feared his rise. In just a few short years, one conservative voice transformed from a little-known outsider into a national force. But with influence came enemies, and one autumn night, a single gunshot ended it all. Tonight, we investigate the life, death, and legacy of Jonathan Hale, the rising conservative voice whose assassination left a nation asking one question: who wanted him silenced? Jonathan Hale was not born into politics. He was raised in a small Midwestern town, the son of a mechanic and a schoolteacher. By the time he was 30, he had become a household name. His secret? He spoke in plain language. He challenged institutions. He said the things others were too afraid to say. For some, Jonathan was the voice of the forgotten. For others, he was a dangerous radical who threatened the status quo. At any given opportunity, Jonathan echoed his mantra: "We don't need career politicians telling us how to live. We need truth, honesty, and courage. That's why I'm here." But the louder his voice grew, the more powerful his enemies became. Behind closed doors, they whispered, "This man cannot be allowed to rise any further." The first signs of danger came quietly: a brick through his campaign office window, anonymous phone calls in the middle of the night, emails promising that if he didn't stop, he wouldn't live to see the next election. Hale's aide, Sarah Whitman, begged Jonathan to take the threat seriously, but Jonathan just laughed it off. He said, "If they're threatening me, it means I'm doing something right." But those close to him knew it wasn't a game. The threats were escalating, and someone, somewhere, was planning something far deadlier. It was October 14th. Thousands gathered at Liberty Square to hear Jonathan speak. It was supposed to be a celebration, a rally to mark the explosive growth of his movement. But hidden in the crowd was a man with a different mission. As Jonathan stepped to the microphone, his words electrified the crowd. He raised his fist, declaring his vision for the nation's future. But as the cheers echoed, a single shot tore through the air. Jonathan Hale collapsed. His shirt turned crimson. His supporters screamed, some rushing forward, others fleeing in terror. Security swarmed the stage, but it was too late. The rising conservative voice was silenced. Within hours, police released a statement. The assassin had been caught, a lone gunman named Eric Dalton. They claimed he acted out of personal hatred. End of story. But was it really that simple? Authorities assure the public this was the act of a lone extremist and not part of a larger conspiracy. Yet, from the beginning, the cracks showed. How did Dalton bypass 3 security checkpoints? Why did multiple witnesses report a second shooter? And why did surveillance cameras fail at the very moment of the assassination? In the weeks after Hale's death, his closest ally, Sarah Whitman, began to ask questions. She spoke to witnesses. She examined court files. What she discovered painted a very different picture. Sarah's investigation showed that Witness 1 saw a man on the rooftop across the square. Witness 2 swears they heard 2 shots, not 1. And the shooter, Eric Dalton, he had no clear motive. He wasn't even politically active. Even more suspicious, Dalton's bank account showed a sudden deposit of $250,000 just weeks before the assassination. Who stood to gain from Hale's death? Leaked memos suggested that his policies threatened billions in government contracts. He had promised to expose corruption that reached the highest levels. An anonymous whistleblower noted that Hale wasn't just a politician. He was a problem. If he had lived, he would have uncovered things that couldn't be buried. So they buried him instead. But the deeper investigators dug, the more resistance they faced. Files disappeared. Witnesses recanted. And Sarah Whitman herself began receiving the same chilling threats Hale once ignored. Though Jonathan Hale's life was cut short, his voice did not die with him. His final speech, recorded just minutes before the shot, spread across the nation. Millions watched, millions wept, and millions promised to carry on his fight. Jonathan's enemies may have killed him, but the truth cannot be killed. His death transformed him from a man into a martyr, and his movement, once fragile, became unstoppable. The official record still calls it the act of a lone gunman. But to this day, questions remain unanswered. Who truly ordered the assassination of Jonathan Hale? Was it one man, or a hidden network with everything to lose? What we do know is this: silencing a voice may kill a man, but it cannot kill an idea. And sometimes the most dangerous thing to the powerful is not the living voice of a leader, but the immortal legacy of a martyr. Subscribe for more stories the world tried to bury.